From Kaysville, Utah, I guess maybe they don't have accents in Utah, but from Kaysville, Utah to the big stage.
I was like, oh, what accent is that?
There you go. Rookie quarterback Jackson Dart making his name known in the NFL. Look, not that we didn't know his name after his college career, but he has had a phenomenal preseason game. Those stats were incredible. It was all capped off last night in the Giants' final preseason game against the Patriots. Dart, 6 of 12 for 81 yards, a touchdown. Actually had a 23-yard scramble that ended in a concussion scare. It was all good. He vowed to not slide anymore after that, or at least be a little bit more cautious with it. Here's more from the young quarterback after the game.
I feel like whenever my number's called that I'm going to go out there and I'm going to play my game and I'm going to ball. And that's just my mindset anytime I touch the field. Obviously, you know, Russ is the starter and he's going to do amazing. He's had such a great camp and has played at an elite level. So, you know, my job is just to be the best teammate and, you know, be ready whenever it is. But, you know, I'm excited for Russ and what he's going to do this year.
NFL Division Preview brought to you by Verizon. I'm just going to say I don't think he was dressing like that when he was at Ole Miss, but I like it. Let's welcome in Tyler Sullivan here. Tyler, we're going to play a little game called Don't Be Surprised If. And we're going to start with the Giants. Look, Russ is a starter there. We've seen Jackson Dart do phenomenal. What is your Don't Be Surprised If when it comes to this team?
Yeah, don't be surprised if we actually don't see Jackson Dart in 2025. I think because of that phenomenal preseason, it's turned a when, not if situation in terms of a when we're going to see Jackson Dart in 2025. I've even written about it on CBSSports.com, identifying pockets where maybe Brian Daboll could pull that lever and bring in Jackson Dart. But there's also a possibility that this is someone who truly needs and has a redshirt year during his rookie season. And you saw kind of that last night. Again, there was a rookie moment for him where he probably should have slid. He got hit. He fumbled. So there's clearly some lumps here. And they brought in not only Russell Wilson, but they also brought in Jameis Winston in for a reason, to give themselves the flexibility to not rush their young quarterback in. Again, I almost feel like if they felt like he was a day one set and forget guy that could start during his rookie season, he wouldn't have been the number 25 overall pick. He would have been a top 5 pick instead of Abdul Carter. So this is someone who I think they need to be very careful with. He has been unbelievable this summer. Giants fans should absolutely be excited for what's to come with Jackson Dart. But you look at this schedule for the New York Giants, it's an absolute gauntlet. You don't want to throw him in there a little bit too early. Again, you see this here. I mean, goodness, that right out of the gate, Commanders and Cowboys and then Chiefs, it's just too much. And so you let Russell Wilson deal with that throughout this season. Maybe at the end of the year, maybe after the Week 14 bye, you can have him start the final month to build that momentum into 2026. But overall, would not shock me if we do not see Jackson Dart at all in 2025.
All right, that would be surprising. We saw him. Is this how? Like, am I doing it right? The W's? Is this how we do it?
You have to eat it.
I'm not doing that. I am not doing that on air. Maybe Tyler can do that. All right, let's stay in the NFC East. Let's talk about the Cowboys here. Don't be surprised if, when it comes to Micah Parsons and Jerry Jones, look, this drama has hit a new level. It does every week. So what is your don't be surprised if when it comes to the Cowboys?
Do not be surprised if this doesn't just dip into week 1. There's a feeling for me that this could last the first half of the season. I think that we look at the Dallas Cowboys sometimes and say, okay, this is same old Jerry Jones. He did it with Dak Prescott. He did it with Ezekiel Elliott. He did it with CeeDee Lamb. When we get to the eve of week 1, when they take on the Philadelphia Eagles, somehow a contract will be signed by Micah Parsons and all will be right with the world and he will be screaming off the edge going after Jalen Hurts. But the more this goes on and the more we hear from Jerry Jones and the more we see Micah Parsons on social media last night stripping everything Dallas Cowboys related, I just feel like this is devolving unlike those situations in the past. It feels like it's getting very personal, very venomous on both sides. And so I wonder if we're going to start bleeding into the regular season. And specifically, I'm kind of looking at that week 9 matchup against the Arizona Cardinals on Monday Night Football. The reason why I'm looking at that point in particular is because it takes place on November 3rd. November 4th is the NFL trade deadline. If we do not have something hammered out here between Micah Parsons and the Dallas Cowboys at that point, we're really looking at cutting our losses here and moving on and trying to get the most you can for one of the best players in the NFL. Or they are kumbayaing and having a moment in prime time, and all of a sudden he is able to suit up for the Dallas Cowboys at that juncture, maybe even wait one more week. They have the bye in week 10. He plays in week 11. We'll see what happens. But that moment to me kind of feels like a drop-dead date that we could conceivably get to, seeing how this situation is currently unfolding between the two sides.
All right, we'll keep an eye on week 8, early November there. November, best month, by the way. It's my birthday month. We've been talking a lot. Look, we're twiddling our fingers at this point, like getting ready for the regular season. We're just waiting. So we're talking about, like, you know, who's going to win MVP. Some guys out of our experts have said, you know, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, the usual suspects. You have another name. Don't be surprised if... Tyler.
Jaden Daniels is the MVP in the NFL. At FanDuel, he's 10-1 right now. He's right in that conversation with Lamar Jackson, who's the current favorite, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. But this is someone who I kind of feel like the current conversation around the Washington Commanders is that they might follow a similar path to the Houston Texans of last year, really promising rookie year for C.J. Stroud. And then they kind of came back down to earth a little bit in his sophomore season. I kind of feel like that's what people are expecting with the Washington Commanders and Jaden Daniels. I'm kind of going the other way. I wonder if we're just going to see him get better. You look at what they have done this offseason in terms of bringing in Deebo Samuel, bringing in Laramie Tunsil, bolster the offensive line, and now I should stop here. Everything goes out the window if they trade Terry McLaurin. I'm working under the assumption that they do get something resolved with their star wide receiver, but you see it here in terms of what he was able to do as a rookie. You're talking about someone who threw for over 4,000 yards and rushed for 1,000 yards when you combine the regular season and the playoffs. The only other quarterback that was able to do that was Lamar Jackson, who did that last season. So he's doing something that other MVP players have done now, and he's putting together something that I think could be really special in 2025. And the other thing here is the Washington Commanders need to be a good football team. A lot of times with these MVPs, you have to be the #1 seed. You have to win your division. Well, the Washington Commanders have the easiest strength of schedule in the NFC East. So on paper, they have an easier path ahead to win the division than even the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, the Dallas Cowboys, and of course, the New York Giants. They also have an easier schedule than the #1 seed of a year ago in the Detroit Lions. So there is a path here where Jaden Daniels just goes absolutely nuclear, wins the division, the #1 seed, and that would almost guarantee him the MVP.
Okay, maybe that strength of schedule kind of leads into your next one. The last thing we got to talk about here is the reigning Super Bowl champs, the Philadelphia Eagles. They went 14-3 last season. They are a betting favorite to win the Super Bowl yet again, but don't be surprised if, when it comes to the Eagles, is...
Don't be surprised if they're under win total at 10.5. I think that this team could be 10-7. And now, before Philadelphia just comes, knocking on my door trying to take me out, I still think that this team could certainly win a Super Bowl, certainly could go back-to-back. I'm not saying that this is going to be a total fall from grace. I'm simply looking at this schedule, and it is a murderer's row for a defending Super Bowl champion, specifically on the road. They have 7 road games this season against playoff teams from the previous year. That's the first time that's ever happened in NFL history. They've also played in total 10 former playoff teams from a year ago. Again, something that's never happened in NFL history before. So let's look specifically here. At the Kansas City Chiefs in week 2, you have the Buccaneers in week 4. They lost there a year ago. You have at the end of the season at the Commanders, at the Buffalo Bills, even at the Packers on Monday Night Football at Lambeau Field. There's a chance you're not favored in any one of those games, and I really wouldn't fault the sports books for making them underdogs in those matchups. So already there, you're kind of being penciled in a little bit for a loss, and that's around 5 losses already in terms of those tough road matchups. And then if you stumble against someone at home, like the Denver Broncos is another one that I think could be difficult for them. So again, Philadelphia Eagles could very easily be hoisting the Lombardi Trophy, but I think 10-7 is a realistic possibility as well.
Tyler, they're not going to knock on your door. They're going to, bust it down and drag you out. I don't know why you thought they were going to be so polite about this. And I say this as loving Eagles fans. Tyler, we appreciate it. Enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Look, the NFL, it is just around the corner. It is returning to CBS Paramount Plus on November. That's what I was talking about, November. No, September 7th. That would be
imagine if you had to wait until November.
Oh, heck no, September 7th. By the way, NFL Today going to be at Lambeau Field for Lions and Packers.